Hello, students. Today we are going to start our next chapter, that is chapter 2, Green Chemistry and Technology for Sustainable Development. Means how green chemistry and the technology based on green chemistry is helpful for sustainable development. And before that, we should know what is the sustainable development. So all these points we are going to discuss in detail. And the details of this green chemistry and green technology for the for the sustainable development, that all the aspects that we are going to discuss in this chapter in detail. So first, we'll start with the green chemistry from theory to practice. Is it actually possible? Means, is it just a theoretical concept, that green chemistry, or is it possible to execute in practice? So all these things that we have to start with the discussion. Okay, so much has been discussed about various environmental issues for several decades. Means, whenever you talk about environmental issues, what are the points that comes in your mind? Most, if I ask you, what are environmental issues? Some of you may say pollution. Some of you may say, sir, there is ozone depletion. Some of you may say, sir, there is a deforestation. So environmental study or environmental science itself is like to see a big object. Means, there is one story which I heard in my school days, that there were 4 to 5 friends who wants to see the elephant. Okay, and they went to zoo, and they start watching the elephant. And their teacher, when they came back, their teacher says, how what is the shape of elephant and how it looks. So one student say, sir, it's like a big pan. Okay, or one student says, sir, it's like a rope. So one say, no sir, it's like a pipe. One said, it's like a, you can say, pillar. So teacher got confused why students are replying like this. The reason is, each student look at the elephant at different parts, not collectively. Means, they the student who watched the just the ears, he said that it is like a pan. Okay, or the student who just touched the tail, he said that no, it's like a rope. Okay, or when he one student touch and feel the trunk. Okay, he feels it like a pipe. And the one who touches the feet, he feels that elephant is like a pillar. So they were like a blind student. Okay, so they could not understand the whole concept of elephant. Okay, same is the story of your environmental science. Environmental science has is not something you can separate it from your day to day life. Okay, so you have to accept that it is everywhere in our part of life. Rather, we human beings are also part of that environment. So environmental issues are not the only one issue, or some typical superficial issues like pollution, or something, or you can say there is a extinction of some species. So it is not only one issue. It is a combination, as we discussed in last chapter, is a combination or not combination, it is a collection of the information from different branches of science. Okay, so there can be biology, there can be chemistry, there can be physics, medical science, engineering, everywhere these things are going to be there. So environmental issues in earlier days were considered to be a something related to depletion of natural resources, or you can say depletion of say ozone, or generation, or you can say there is a problem of pollution. But it is not so. You have to take into account all the aspects of your day-to-day life. Okay, so here basically what is green chemistry, that we have to brush up again, and we'll see again the definition of green chemistry. What is green chemistry? The invention. Okay, means in green chemistry what is to be done, there is an invention and or design and applications. Okay, there is an invention, there is design, there is application of what? Of chemical products and processes. Okay, means you have to invent, you have to design, you have to see the applications of chemical products and processes. But what is the purpose of this invention, design and application? Is to reduce. Okay, either you can reduce or eliminate. Mostly you have to see for elimination. If at all it is not possible, then go for at least for reduction. So to reduce or eliminate the use and generation of substances. See, in chemistry we deal with the matter. Okay, so chemicals means here substances. Okay, it may be gaseous or liquid or solid, whatever, but we are always talking about these substances. So we have to see the reduction or elimination of the use and generation of substances which will be hazardous to workers and consumers. See, here we are talking about workers and consumers, rather we should say all the human being, but we are using this term because we are dealing with the chemistry on industrial scale. Okay, so you, whenever hereafter, whenever you think about any manufacturing of any chemical or development of any process, before you start, okay, you have to do all the research work, R&D. You have to complete your study regarding not only the development of the applications, but what are its ill effects or bad effects on environment. Okay, and here environment means, here you can say all the segments of the environment, that is lithosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere and atmosphere. So in that our human being also is included. So specifically here it is mentioned workers and consumers, so there should not be any bad effect. Okay, for example, you will say, sir, if we let the effluent gases to go in atmosphere, okay, we won't be any there won't be any problem who is residing somewhere far away from the industry. It is not so. When you pollute the atmosphere, uh, it is going to harm somewhere to the human being. It may be a worker or it may be a consumer. Okay, no, you may say that you may observe that it may not affect immediately, but in long run it is going to harm all the people. So this is the basic definition of the green chemistry. So invention and design are the two important aspects of green chemistry which will ultimately lead to production of safe and non-hazardous material by methods which will be eco-friendly. Means not only your substance should be eco-friendly, but your process should also be eco-friendly. So this means that scientists and technologists have to think in advance. Just now I told you. So people have to think in advance regarding the material to be manufactured. Okay. So here I will tell you the story. In earlier days, means you can say 100 or 150 years back, when there is a beginning of the industrial era. Okay. So the people were developing new technologies, new machines, new chemicals all over the world, especially in Europe. There was a boom of industrial, or you can say technological or scientific development. So people were enjoying the benefits of that industrial development. But here, at that time, people or not a single person could have thought about what are the bad effects of it. Just I will give you example, the example of plastic. Okay. Plastic started with the invention of one polymer, that is bakelite. Okay. So when they it is a serendipity kind of invention. Serendipity means the scientist was not thinking of making this material, but by mistake or by chance, unknowingly, that material was formed in lab. And then that scientist started to know the properties. And then it was realized that polymer have very large strength. Okay. It has large applications. Okay. And it makes the uh, big, you can say, covering materials. Okay. So they can be carrier, they can be a covering material. So initially it was like a boon. But as the industry went on development, uh, then people started enjoying the fruits of that technology. But nobody thought about the black side of the development. Okay. What is that black side, or you can say dark side? That later on, when people started using plastic, after few decades, people realized that plastic cannot be processed, it cannot be recycled. Okay. So slowly they started thinking about how to recycle, how one can go for reuse. So whatever plastic was manufactured, no one can you can say reduce. But at least you can avoid the problem of that plastic. But hereafter, when people understand that problem, after that point, the people started to think about any technology, any development, any invention, whether it is eco-friendly or not. Means polymers were there in nature, like a starch, like proteins, or there are n number of other polymers. So these polymers, when they are natural, they are helpful for biological, or you can say natural development, as well as they can be recycled, they can be reused, they can be they are no more harmful to the human being. Rather, they are the one who are responsible for the development of the multicellular or bigger animals or plants. But when human being had generated such polymer, artificial polymer, they were not taking into consideration the bad effect of such polymer. This is just one example which I have given. There are you will find such n number of examples in all kind of development. So hereafter, the green chemistry or green technology suggests that before going to manufacture of any kind of chemical, before that, in advance, you have to think about the environmental aspect. Okay. whether it is hazardous to worker or consumer, whether it is harmful to any segment of the environment. So you have to consider all these things. So another important aspect of this definition is use and generation of hazardous substances. This part you have to consider. Okay, so whenever you go for any invention, so before designing a particular method or technology, sufficient study and thinking has to be done, whether the product will be hazardous to workers or and consumers, will the waste which is generated, okay, will create hazard to environment or mankind, will the handling of the products will be safe. Understanding the regulations and consequences of the use, handling, transport, production of hazardous substance is a key feature of green chemistry. Okay, means don't consider the application or use of particular chemical. You have to consider the consequences of its use. After use, where it will go, what is the disposable, what is the disposal of the chemical, how will you handle it, okay, how will you transport it, okay, how will you produce it. For example, take the example of pesticides. Okay, pesticides has good you can say application of to control over the pest, but after the use, where that excess pesticide goes, what is the disposable, is it going to harm anybody else other than pest? You have to think about it. How will you handle? Most of the farmers, because of lack of training, they don't know how to handle, they don't know the you can say threatening effect of that pesticide that causes a lot of injuries, or you can say genetic mutation kind of problem in farmer family. Or how will you transport? Means take the example of petroleum products. How will you transport? You have to take care of that transport. Then some chemicals you have to produce in industry, so you have to think about the production of such hazardous substances. So that is all these you have to take into account, and that is discussed under the heading of green chemistry. So green chemistry addresses many issues. Not only does it aim at safer product, less hazardous material and products, but it also include issues which can promote sustainable development. So science and technology has progressed by leaps and bounds, means it has developed at very fast rate or fast speed. Nowadays you can see even the mobiles which you are using today, you will find that it is out of you can say out of trend, even just within a 6 months or 1 year. So this is very fast going technology. So with the help of scientific explanation and development of new theories for natural phenomena, chemical technology has produced a vast number of chemical products. So you have you are enjoying various you can say products, chemical products. For example, you can say if you go for allopathy, there are n number of allopathic medicines. So how do you get those allopathic medicines? Most of them are manufactured in industry. So due to their but they at the same time they have negative effects also. So those negative effects has been realized after its use for few decades. Okay, so after use of few decades, the environmentalists have caught the attention of this development. So they feel that it is necessary to monitor pollution. Okay, it is necessary to monitor all these developments from environmental point of view. So initial efforts were directed for reduction of pollution or recycling, but today the best method for sustainable development and reduction of negative impact is to modify, design and bring innovation in manufacturing process. Okay, so that these will not be harmful to the environment. These innovations should be made by taking into account energy materials, atom economy, use and regeneration of secondary materials which are dangerous, and finally the life cycle of products and their practical recycling into raw material. In just I have used this word, life cycle of the product. Means in nature, in the last chapter, while discussing, I told you, whenever you go for green chemistry or green technology, you have to follow the rules or the you can say regulations of the natural process. So all the natural process are cyclic. So here you have to not only think about the manufacture, but you have to think about the disposable. Means here you have to think about the cycle life cycle. Means from the birth, from the production, how it will be disintegrated at the end and again come back to the nature. So you have to think in that cyclic manner. Then only the chemistry will be a green chemistry, or the technology will be a green technology. So in the last few decades, chemicals are being produced every year from chemical industry on large scale. More than 1.2 lakhs of chemicals are being circulated for various applications. Some of these have been studied for their toxicological and ecotoxicological effects, but due to very high cost, the study of all chemicals is not possible. Okay, so even though Environmental Protective Agency (EPA) is in force in many countries, still there are a number of chemicals and products which have not been tested. So therefore, the most effective way to overcome the negative impact of all these is to develop new methods of synthesis, new designs of manufacturing process, and bring theory into practice. Correct? Means whatever environmental issues are, they are to be addressed through the technology. Okay, before technology to be executed. So then only these environmental problems will not be uh, raised. Okay, so in the concept of green chemistry has gained foothold in the last few years in the research areas of both academician and industry. Means nowadays academicians and industrialists both the community are thinking in the green technology or green development point of view. So that is called as sustainable development. Okay, so green chemistry is being discussed in number of international conferences, scientific journals, numerous publications. You may be watching such kind of development. If you read any chemistry research journal, if you read any article published in newspaper, wherever you read it, first of all, any technology has to take into account this environmental aspect. So it has become a inseparable or indifferent part of the technology. Okay, so the movement of green chemistry was conceptualized in 1990-91, and during last 20 to 25 years has gained momentum. Okay, earlier, means last century, was the fast boom of the industrial development, but this century has begun with the sustainable development. Okay, so again here, at the end, we are coming to the end of the lecture. Again, I would like to remind the statement made by Mahatma Gandhi. What he said, that there are ample resources for everyone's need, but it is less for someone's greed. So if one person is greedy, all the resources are not sufficient, they are insufficient. But if you are if you want to live peacefully, then there are ample resources. So you on philosophical level, if the person or human being start thinking about the uh, all the people, not the in greedy way, then only you can go for sustainable development. Here sustainable means, see, you should not think about any solution to the any problem in for temporary basis. Okay, you have to think about the next generations. Whatever you will create, that should be helpful to the next generations, then only it can sustain, and that is called as sustainable development. Okay, so processes are being designed and changed with an attempt to reduce, preferentially eliminate. Okay, that is what I was saying. If pollution is there, you have to reduce it. Okay, but if you are going to start a new thing, then you have to think about how you can eliminate and eliminate the hazardous effect of products and the feedstock for the environment. So there is one person, Paul T. Anastas. He is a pioneer in the field of green chemistry. Is one of his in his one of lecture he said, sustainable civilization requires both a healthy environment and healthy economy. Means here, whatever Mahatma Gandhi said, that greed is not only to fulfill the hunger. Greed is about the money, greed is about the power. So whenever you go for healthy environment, you have to think about healthy economy. Okay, equal distribution. Okay, greed creates the polarization. So you have to think about the sustainable civilization, and it requires the healthy economy and healthy environment. So advancements made by green chemistry during last 25 years are very encouraging. So here whatever has happened, we cannot revert it. Okay, that is the problem. So at least we can reduce it. But hereafter, if we take care of the environmental aspect, that is go for the green chemistry or green technology, then it will give you very beneficial results, and that is observed since you can say 20 or 30 years. The results are very encouraging. So in the next lectures, we'll discuss what are those encouraging results, or how this technology proceed, and how it is found to be helpful. So for today's lecture, we'll stop here. Thank you.